In Alex Proyas's striking and visually remarkable futuristic noir-esque sci-fi thriller, a man wakes up in an apartment with the body of a dead woman next to him in a city that seemingly has no sun, and he finds he cannot remember anything and is being pursued by a set of freaky pale dudes dressed in black. I thought Dark City was quite simply an excellent sci-fi mystery. It was really engaging. There was a great plot, with you and the main character trying to figure out just what is going on. Why can't he remember anything, including his own wife? Who are these guys chasing him? As the plot unravels, things get weirder and weirder, but it's a really satisfying story with a great reveal, even though if it is somewhat hampered by the opening narration, which gives off far too much away of the plot. A narration which I heard Proyas was against including, but had to at the studio's insistence. All the cast do a swell job. Rufus Sewell, a Daniel Radcliffe Elijah Woods lookalike, competently carries the weight, confusion, frustration and fear of the protagonist. There are notable turns from the likes of Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly and William Hurt, and Richard O'Brien was particularly memorable in a sinister and menacing villain role. Accompanying the fine story and on-point cast is a splendour of nightmarish set design and cinematography. There are some fantastic images in the film. It shows its love in homages to classics in the sci-fi genre. There was one shot which I paused, our protagonist's silhouette framed against the backdrop of a seedy city underground, complete with steam machines being worked overtime, and I thought to myself, that's straight out of Blade Runner. Then you have a touch of Metropolis with these magnificent, outlandish and claustrophobia-inducing high-rise skyscrapers engulfing the entire city. It really is a great looking film, and the looks are essential in honing the tone of the movie, utilizing numerous kinds of special effects to craft and sand this confining and oppressive looking city. I was taken aback at how bombastic and loud the movie is. I forgot that it was released in the late 90s, that Matrix New Millennium period where loads of films were called something 2000. A lot of sci-fi movies from that period were unashamedly loud and not afraid to go batshit with the story. And audiences were a lot more accepting of them then as well. Today a lot of sci-fi cinema is slow and methodical and tries to relate to real world issues, which is fine in its own right, but I couldn't help having a big stupid grin on my face watching Dark City, if that makes sense, which is not something you'd expect from a film that sounds so depressing and bleak. And going back to the batshit story, Dark City really goes all out on the far end of the crazy spectrum. Without giving anything away, it goes completely mental, and yet I still found it to be believable and engaging. There was sincerity in the story which keeps it from seeming stupid, and a huge amount of effort in the execution of the look of the film gave it a few bonus points. And the movie makes you think. It makes you think about life, about what's out there, about where humanity's headed. On top of the craziness, including, by the way, just how fast the film moves, it averaged around 2 cuts per second. Existential themes are touched upon, and the movie is aware of the limits of exploring such things, in terms of dragging the story on, or genre cliches, or quite simply, cringiness. There was one scene, for instance, where a character informed another that he'd been looking in the wrong place for what he was looking for, pointing at his brain. I was thinking, oh no, they're going to ruin the moment by getting him sappy and hippie and he's going to point at his heart and say, you should have looked here. But he didn't, even though the message was clear. I thought that was a good example of the movie being aware of the limits it needs to hold itself in order not to fall off the deep end. Dark City is one of the standout sci-fi films from the 90s. It's short and straight to the point, has a great mystery going for it and some terrific imagery to boot. I give it an 8 out of 10.